Hello and welcome to my tutorial on how to send native tokens from a UTxO using Cardano-CLI. Actually, this tutorial is more on a continuation of my other tutorial on how to mint your own native token or asset. This time, I will show you how to send the minted assets from your payment address to another wallet address. Note that when you send non-ADA tokens or native assets, you still need to attach at least one ADA token together with your native token. However, it may be higher depending on the amount of native tokens you are going to send. So basically, you can't send a native token alone without attaching at least one ADA token. Now, before we proceed with the actual creation of our transaction, let's reformat first our token.csv file, which we generated from our previous tutorial on how to mint your own native token. So we are going to add three new placeholders. One is the receiver address, where we will send the native token, and then the amount of ADA token to attach to the transaction, and of course the amount of native tokens that we are going to send. So let's copy it and open our token.csv file, which is here. Now we are simply adding three new placeholders. The receiver address, I have here a receiver.address file which we are going to use. So let's open that and copy the address. Let's paste it here in our template. And for now, we are just going to attach one ADA token or 1 million Lovelace. And of course, we are going to send 700 million native tokens. And we are going to be left with just 7 billion tokens, which will be sent back to our payment address. So here is now the new template, our token.csv file. However, sending a large amount of native token and attaching a very small amount of ADA token may actually produce an error, which is fine for now, because if we generate an error, then it's a good exercise because I can teach you how to fix the said error. So for now, let's just stick with these current values. So the next step now is to create a draft transaction. Now, first of all, let's query first our token.csv file if the values are properly assigned to the following variables or placeholders. We added the payment or the receiver address, add the amount to send or attach, and the amount of native tokens that we are going to send. So let's use this command first and check if all the values are properly assigned. So here's the payment address assigned to variable I, policy ID, the native token name, the amount of native tokens that we are sending back to our payment address. And here's the transaction hash and index and the balance and the receiver address, and then the amount of ADA tokens we are attaching, and of course, lastly, the amount of native tokens we are going to send. All right, so everything is in place. Let's now proceed with the actual creation of our raw transaction. So let's copy this command. Now let's calculate the minimum transaction fee. So let's copy the transaction fee, paste it in our template. Now remember, the balance is here. So using our calculator, we are going to deduct the transaction fee from the balance to get the change. Now, since we are attaching one added token, we are going to deduct that from the total change. So the actual change will now be just this one. So let's paste it also here. And then let's rebuild our raw transaction file. So the next step now is to sign the raw transaction. And finally, we are going to submit it to the blockchain. Now let's check if we encounter an error. So indeed, there's an error which says here the output is too small. So in order to fix this, it's either we reduce the amount of tokens or native tokens that we are sending, or we increase the attached ADA tokens. So in our case, since we don't have enough ADA tokens to attach to this transaction, what I'm going to do is send a larger amount of ADA tokens and use that as our transaction input, and attach also a larger amount of ADA tokens into it. All right, so I'll just pause this tutorial for now while I send some ADA tokens to our payment address. All right, so I have sent another set of ADA tokens to our payment address. This time I'm going to query our payment address if it has received already our new set of tokens. So here they are. We have a new couple of transaction hashes. We are going to use it this time. Now, if we open our token.csv file, instead of sending a large amount of native tokens, we are just sending this time just 1,000 native tokens. And also we are going to attach 10 ADA tokens, and the remaining native tokens is this one, which will be sent back to our payment address. Now, let's go back to the template or placeholders for our token.csv file. So this time, we are going to add 3 new placeholders. One is the second transaction ID and the index, and of course the balance of that new transaction hash ID. And then below, we are going to add a couple of variables, which is S and T for the new hash ID and index. And also here, we add a couple of tokens, and the variables we also add here. So same here. Now, let's check first if our token.csv file contains all the needed values. But first, we need to add the new transaction hash. Let's use the last one with the largest amount of ADA tokens. and also the index is still 0, and the balance is this one, which is 1000 ADA tokens. All right, let's save that, and let's query our token CSV file if it has all the necessary values. All right, so we have the new ones, which is the transaction hash and the index. All right, so everything's in place. Now we are ready to rebuild our raw transaction file. Okay, so that's done. And now we are again going to calculate the minimum transaction fee. And this time the transaction input count is set to 2. So let's copy that. So here is the updated transaction fee. Let's copy and paste it on our template. Also here. Now the balance, since we are using a couple of transaction hashes, let's add up the total balance of those two transactions hashes. And this one. So here is now the total balance. So first we deduct the transaction fee from the balance, and also we deduct the 10 added tokens that we are going to attach and send to our receiving address. So here is now the remaining change that we are going to send back to our payment address. Let's paste it in our template. Again, let's add the 2 tokens. And also the second transaction input. So, all right, we're all set. Let's rebuild our raw transaction file. Now that's done. And then we again sign the raw transaction file. And lastly, this time we submit it to the blockchain. And hopefully, we will no longer encounter an error. Transaction has been submitted successfully. So congratulations, you just learned how to send native tokens and attach added tokens into it. And also you have learned how to use multiple transaction hashes or UTxOs as inputs in a single transaction. I could have made this video shorter and avoided all those additional steps and those errors that we encountered. However, if we avoided those additional steps that I did, then you won't be equipped with proper knowledge on how to troubleshoot errors such as those if you encounter them while doing this on your own. So let's check now our payment address again if the UTxOs have been updated with the latest transaction that we did. All right, so we have reduced the amount of native tokens in our wallet. And next, let's query the receiver address if it has received the native tokens that we just sent and the 10 added tokens that we attached into it. So here it is, the 10 added tokens, and the 1000 native tokens that we sent. All right, so this wraps up our tutorial on how to send native tokens and attach added tokens into it. So if you like my video, any donation, any amount of added donations will be highly appreciated. Or just subscribe to my channel and share my videos. That will help me a lot. Thank you, and I'll see you in my next tutorial. Most probably I'll be doing another tutorial like this, but this time on how to burn your native tokens. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.